I heard your company is pulling out. The salary has been decreasing over the past 3 months, so it seems like it's finally in danger.
Ah,
That topic. I wanted to discuss something about that. I think I should have consulted you earlier. But lately, towards me, you know. That's why I felt it was difficult to discuss. Discuss? You're just going to tell me to work because your company is going under, right? What? The company is going under? Well, it might come to that. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What's this? Are you finally going to kick this woman out?
yeah.
I told you before, right? Her company seems to be going under. It looks like it's actually true. I tolerated her not so great looks because her parents are the presidents. Thinking at least I married someone from a good background, but this is unacceptable. Sure, being raised in America and being so good at her job is cool. But raising the bar with her mixed heritage and then looking like this? If only she were beautiful, there might be some redemption. Both of you, what are you saying? I married you expecting money. And now the company is going under? Probably the American side is doing poorly too, right? A wife who doesn't bring in a single penny is useless. Get out. When I told my college friends my mom was mixed race, they all imagined some super beauty. Introducing you is just embarrassing, so quit being my mom. Upon learning that my company was going under, my husband and his daughter turned on me like flipping a hand. The cruel words they hurled at me were breaking my heart. There were many things I wanted to say, but given everything that has happened, I no longer have the energy. I understand. You want me to divorce you and leave this house, right? That's right. It's good that you're smart and understand quickly. Just so you know, I won't be there for you to regret this. If my husband wants a divorce, then so be it. I will quietly go through with the divorce, and he will surely regret it deeply. My name is Amy. My mother is Japanese, and my father is American, making me mixed race. My parents live in America, but I have been living in Japan for work for about 10 years. My father is the CEO of a company in America that develops software and deals with imports and sales. I came to Japan to work at the Japanese branch of my father's company. Having been a fan of Japanese cartoons, I was overjoyed when I found out I was going to Japan, jumping up and down with excitement. Some might have thought that upon hearing I'm mixed race living in Japan, I would have been a beauty, getting all the attention. However, that was not the case. I have a plain appearance and am not good at socializing outside of work. So I think people found me difficult to approach. During my school days, I would spend time alone in a corner of the classroom and leave school as quickly as possible once classes were over. I was what you might call a shadowy presence. Being unaccustomed to Japan, it was impossible for me to suddenly change my character. So I continued my shadowy presence after arriving. Being alone is nothing new to me, so I've gotten used to it. Therefore, I didn't try to forcibly expand my social connections in my private life. Rather, I had given up, thinking it was something I couldn't do. Maybe some deity took pity on me, for in my 5th year in Japan, at the age of 37, I was given a good encounter. Wow, Amy, you work at a software development company? That's amazing. I work in the IT industry too, but I've never heard of your company's name. Sorry for my ignorance. No, our company doesn't deal with servers and networks, so it's not well known. Also, I'm not involved in development, my main role is in import and sales. So, I'm not really that amazing. The dart bar I frequented was popular with customers who had come to work in Japan from overseas. Being mostly a loner, there are times even I crave conversation with others. During such times, I found myself heading to a darts bar. where I met the man who would become my husband. Amy, don't you play darts? I'm just here to drink, I don't play darts. Are you drinking coffee, Ken? Yes, I'm usually just dragged here by my senior colleagues. I don't drink alcohol, nor do I play darts. Office relationships can be quite complicated, can't they? My husband checked the time on his smartphone, then placed his coffee on the counter. Huh? You're leaving already? It's only 7 o'clock. My middle school daughter will be coming home from cram school around this time. Since I don't have a wife, I need to prepare dinner for her. That's why, even if I'm invited out by coworkers, I can make a good escape around this time without anyone complaining, right? Hearing his joke, I couldn't help but laugh. Seeing me laugh, my husband gave me a light smile before making an excuse to his senior colleagues for leaving. After that day, whenever I went to the darts bar, I would look for my husband. And he would always come talk to me if he found me. Amy, you work at your father's company, right? That's amazing. Not really. It might seem big because we have branches overseas. But it's not that large. It's like a small to medium-sized business in Japan. Even though it was a darts bar, we, who didn't play darts, always enjoyed standing and talking at the end of the counter with a drink in hand. Each time we met, my husband and I grew closer. And we started meeting outside the darts bar as well. It was a natural progression to start dating. As I approached my 40s, I was elated to finally experience spring. However, I couldn't just bask in happiness. To continue dating my husband, I needed to build a relationship with his daughter, Naomi. Naomi was 15 years old at the time, a middle schooler on the verge of exams. A period that required careful consideration. I was worried, but it soon became clear that my worries were unnecessary. Amy, you lived in America until 5 years ago, right? Being mixed race, capable at work, you're full of cool factors. Why are you dating my dad? Hey, don't praise Amy and beat me down at the same time. Right. We shouldn't speak ill of Ken. Besides, I'm not that cool. I started having dinner at my husband's house with his daughter. The three of us would enjoy meals together, joking around. From any perspective, it was the dinner of an ordinary family. And I cherished that ordinariness more than anything. With a good relationship with his daughter, we decided to get married 2 years into our relationship. Everything had gone smoothly up to this point. But being an international marriage, things got hectic from there. The most challenging part was meeting each other's parents. I took my husband and his parents to America. But since neither my husband nor his parents spoke English or understood foreign cultures well, it was difficult. Wow, these are your father's company's documents. It's all in English, I have no idea what it says. This part describes the main product. What should we do about the dowry? In terms of weddings, New Year's money, gifts for births and school admissions, and other occasions requiring substantial amounts of money. Such practices are not common here, so they're not necessary. Understanding both Japanese and American languages and cultures. My mother and I were very busy. However, being busy meant that my husband and his parents were trying to understand the environment I grew up in and my parents. Despite the hustle and bustle, I felt a pleasant fatigue. After our wedding went smoothly, I started living with my husband and daughter. The three of us together in his home. I thought we were going to start a happy life as a family of 3 in Japan. But gradually, the situation seemed to become ominous. A year after our marriage, when our daughter became a high school student, my husband made a suggestion. Naomi's high school entrance exams really drove it home for me. My late work hours have put too much of a burden on Naomi. With the university entrance exams coming up, which are going to be even tougher. It might be better if one of us increases our time at home, right? That might be true, but this conversation had occasionally taken place between my husband and me when we were alone in the living room. Because there were matters we couldn't easily decide on. We had been putting off coming to a conclusion. My husband seemed to be suggesting that it was about time to make a decision, with a serious look on his face. Seeing that expression, I wondered if we could delay making a decision until about next year, when our daughter starts preparing for her university exams. Though perspectives are changing in cases like this, it's still more common in Japan for women to quit their jobs to handle household chores and childcare. This situation seems like my husband is suggesting I quit my job or find a job that allows me to come home early. However, that's not the case for us. That's why I'm troubled. So, Ken, you're thinking I should continue with my current job. And you should find a job that allows you to come home earlier, right? Considering our situation, that makes sense, doesn't it? You earn a higher salary. More importantly, you work at your father's company. It wouldn't make sense for you to quit, right? That's true if we're only looking at the situation. But are you okay with this? You've been at your company for over 20 years, haven't you? If it's for Naomi, then I'm fine with it. I couldn't meet my husband's earnest gaze and looked away. I felt guilty for making him quit the company he had worked at for so long. However, he seemed resolved. I was embarrassed for not noticing his determination earlier and trying to postpone the decision. Okay. Let's do that then. I gave in to my husband's resolve and accepted his proposal on the spot. Did both of you bring your lunch? Of course, I did. There's no way I'd forget that. Sorry. I forgot mine. As our daughter hurried out to avoid being late, I took off my half-worn shoes at the entrance and rushed back to the kitchen to get the lunch my husband had prepared. My husband quit his job and became a part-time house husband. With him taking care of the household and looking after our daughter, I can focus on my work. Also, with him being at home more, he was able to support our daughter thoroughly, which helped her smoothly pass her university entrance exams. Though I felt guilty for having my husband quit his job, it might have been the right choice for our family. I packed the lunch left on the kitchen table into my bag, grateful to my husband. However, 3 years into our marriage, the situation has significantly changed. And I began to regret the decision of my husband becoming a house husband. I'm home. Huh? What's for dinner? Isn't it on the table? Instant noodles? Again? Can't be helped. Being a house husband is busy, you know. Besides, it looks like your salary has decreased this month. Is your company okay? Huh? The company?
Yeah.
It's fine. Don't worry. Your salary has been gradually decreasing for the past 2 years. And it's significantly dropped these last 2 months. Of course, I'm worried. I quit my job, after all. Work hard and earn more. We have Naomi's tuition fees to think about. This instant noodles are also part of saving for emergencies, so just bear with it and eat. Okay? I couldn't respond to my husband and poured hot water into the instant noodles, glancing at the washed dishes for 2. My husband, who was kind during our first year of marriage, gradually changed his attitude from the second year and now in our 3rd year. Dinner is instant noodles, and instead of a packed lunch, he hands me a $5. Furthermore, it wasn't just my husband whose attitude changed. Hey. Don't use the bath before me just because you came home early. The bathwater gets all old ladies smelling. Huh? Oh, sorry. But do I really smell that bad? Don't talk back. Just say okay and keep quiet. I had decided to take a bath early since I came home sooner than usual. But as I exited the bath, my daughter stormed into the changing room and yelled at me. She threw my clothes into the hallway and slammed the bathroom door shut from inside. Being suddenly kicked out, and not fully dried off, I quietly returned to the changing room. It sounded like my daughter was still in the bath, probably intending to change the water. I hurriedly dried off and threw the bath towel into the laundry basket. Then quietly left the changing room and got dressed in the hallway. I had become completely treated like an old lady by my daughter. To a 20-year-old daughter, a 42-year-old me might seem like an old lady. A few years ago, she used to say I was cool, but now, that feels like a distant memory. If anyone were treated so terribly at home, it would be normal for them to snap at their husband and daughter. However, since they are family, I want to avoid making our relationship even worse by getting angry. But honestly, the real reason is probably because I'm inherently introverted. In the current situation, it's clear that my husband and daughter have teamed up against me, making it a 2-against-1 scenario. There's no way I, being introverted, could stand up against the two of them. I'm afraid of conflict and isolation, so I run away from problems. How's your married life? It's fine. Ken does the housework, and Naomi is attending college properly. I put on a smile and lie to my parents. I used to look forward to talking to my parents via video calls once every few months. But now, I can't share my troubles about my husband and daughter with them, turning these calls into painful moments of lying. If I were to share my troubles with my parents, I'm sure all my pent-up patience and sadness would overflow, and I wouldn't be able to stop it. Moreover, my parents are overseas, so I can't easily rely on them. Nor do I want to worry them from afar. So, I force myself to swallow the complaints that almost escape my throat and push them back down. I should just yell at my husband and daughter. Or I should consult my troubles with my parents, even though they are across the sea. Some people might think this is frustrating, but that's how introverts are. However, I understand that not taking action myself and not properly explaining why my salary has been decreasing are making things worse. But being introverted isn't all bad. Sometimes, by not taking action, problems resolve themselves. In this case, my husband ended up self-destructing. One day, when I came home from work, as usual, there was a cup of instant noodles on the kitchen table. Just as I was about to sigh while picking up the cup noodles, my husband spoke from behind me. I'm the one who wants to sigh. What? I was caught off guard and flinched, causing the toppings inside the cup noodles to rattle like maracas. Oh, you were here. You scared me. I heard from a former colleague of yours that your company is pulling out. The salary has been decreasing for the past 3 months, it looks really bad now. That. I wanted to discuss something about that. I should have brought it up sooner. But, recently, how you and Naomi have been, That's why it's been so hard to bring it up. A discussion? You're just going to tell me to work because your company is going under, right? What? The company going under? Well, that's one way to put it. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What's this? Are we finally kicking her out? As I was about to explain the reason behind my reluctance to discuss my company's salary issues, my daughter, hearing our voices, came into the kitchen. She naturally stood by my husband's side, fully intent on ganging up on me 2-against-1.
Yeah.
I told you before, right? Her company is about to go under. Seems like it's true. Seriously? Then there's no reason for her to stay here anymore, right? Exactly. And I even quit my job. Really, Dad is just too pitiful. Unable to find the right moment to interject, I could only listen to their rapid-fire conversation. It's embarrassing how my introverted tendencies kick in even at times like this. But as I remained silent, they continued to utter unbelievable things. I tolerated her not-so-great looks because her parents are the presidents. Thinking at least I married someone from a good background, but this is unacceptable. Sure, being raised in America and being so good at her job is cool. But raising the bar with her mixed heritage and then looking like this? If only she were beautiful, there might be some redemption. Both of you, what are you saying? I managed to interject into their conversation with a feeble voice. However, the words I mustered only seemed to fuel their fervor. I married you expecting money. And now the company is going under? The American side must be doing poorly too, right? A wife who doesn't bring in a single penny is useless. Get out. When I told my college friends my mom was mixed race, they all imagined some super beauty. Introducing you is just embarrassing, so quit being my mom. Their cruel words break my heart. I had so much I wanted to say, but I no longer have the energy. I get it. You want me to divorce you and leave this house, right? That's right. It's good that you're smart and understand quickly. So, you expected Dad to quit his job and become a house husband just so you could continue working. And now that you're out of a job, you plan on relying on him? That's really low of you. No wonder Dad wants to leave you. Naomi seems to genuinely hate me, glaring with a demonic expression. Ken is smirking beside her. Seeing his expression, I feel a surge of anger. I can't remember the last time I felt this angry. You'll be sorry. I yelled at Ken with the loudest voice I've ever used in my life. And slammed the cup noodles I had been holding onto the kitchen table as if to make a point. Then left to pack my things. If he wants a divorce, I'll grant it. I'll silently go through with the divorce, and he's bound to deeply regret it. After that, Ken and I divorced. Being an international marriage, the process was a bit complicated. But generally following Japanese law made it manageable without major issues. When we divorced, we split the savings we had accumulated over 5 years of marriage. Each of us received $35,000. I didn't want to give my ex-husband any money, but rules are rules. I thought most of this money would be used for Naomi's remaining 2 years of tuition fees. So there was no point in fighting it. However, giving him the money made me realize how much of a lost cause he was. 3 months after the divorce, with my company gone, I returned to America. Even though I've spent more time in America, living in Japan for a while still leaves me feeling out of place. Just when I was thinking about visiting Japan again someday, Naomi unexpectedly called me via video. Mom, help me. What's wrong? The video quality is poor, but Naomi's panicked expression is clear. I suspected my ex-husband was to blame, but the details exceeded my expectations. I was deceived by Dad. I'm so sorry for all the terrible things I said to you before. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Naomi is continuously apologizing. And I still can't see the full picture of what my ex-husband did to her. I decided to calm her down first and figure out what happened in these 3 months. You know the tuition payment is due soon, right? Dad says I have to pay it myself. He said it's okay if I do, but then I must pay him back with interest once I start working. Why? I left enough money for your tuition when we divorced, didn't I? He says that's his living expenses for the next 2 or 3 years. And after raising me up to this point, once I graduate and start working, I should take care of him. He wants you to replace me? That's impossible for you, especially in your first year of working. He said he took me in just for that reason, and if I don't fulfill my role, I'd be just like you. I was fidgeting without realizing it. Fidgeting isn't something I picked up in Japan, people do it in America too when they're irritated. I noticed my fidgeting and realized how frustrated I was. Mom, I'm so sorry. I never thought Dad was like that. So when he badmouthed you, I started hating you too. He always called you ugly. And I joined in. But when I really think about it, you weren't that bad. I'm not mad, so calm down. You're starting to make less sense again. What exactly did Ken tell you about me? He said he didn't want to quit his job, but you forced him to. And after the company went under, you said it was now his turn to work. I muted the call, sighed heavily, and then unmuted it. I had a hunch when I was confronted with the divorce. Seeing the smirk on my ex-husband's face. And how my daughter's words towards me were all in line with what my ex-husband said. That hunch turned into conviction when I heard my daughter's words. Realizing that my ex-husband had indoctrinated her into thinking I was a bad woman just to divorce me. Also, from there, I began to understand my ex-husband's ridiculous plan. He took custody of our daughter, intending to live off her, but then the daughter of a company president, appeared and we got married. So he changed his plan to live off me instead. However, when he learned that the company I worked for was going under, he decided to discard me and return to his plan of living off our daughter. My daughter was wrong to believe my ex-husband's words. Even if she was deceived, the fact that she said things that hurt me is undeniable. However, I think my ex-husband began to plant a bad impression of me in my daughter's mind around her senior year of high school. At that age, she was still very much a child. Especially since she was raised in a single-father environment. It's understandable that my daughter believed my ex-husband's words. I know the kind and cheerful daughter I had before she was manipulated. Therefore, I think it's fair to consider my daughter, like me, a victim of my ex-husband. I am once again filled with anger towards my ex-husband for deceiving my daughter and causing her so much sadness and pain. If your misunderstanding has been cleared up, then that's fine. It seems like you're genuinely reflecting, so I'll forgive you. Don't worry. I'll take care of you, Naomi. After ending the video call, I was overjoyed, thinking my kind daughter had returned. And before I knew it, my nervous tapping had stopped. However, my anger towards my ex-husband had not vanished. His misunderstandings will be corrected from now on. He will face significant regret once he realizes his mistake. I decided to look forward to that moment. 3 months after my daughter reached out for help, my ex-husband contacted me. What the hell is this? How come you have so much money to spare? Huh? What are you talking about? I understood what my ex-husband meant. But wanting to see his panicked state for as long as possible, I pretended not to know. He seemed quite flustered, leaning forward towards the camera. So his face loomed large on my computer screen. His face alone was enough to fill the screen with noise, not to mention his words. Naomi suddenly left home. There's no way she could have that kind of money. And when I asked Naomi, she said you've been paying for her tuition and rent. How do you have such money when you fled back to America after the company went under? Is it from your parents? Are you getting it from your father? Don't say such rude things. Unlike some people, I don't leech off my family. I'm sending Naomi money that I've earned myself, so you have no right to complain. Why do you have such leeway? Weren't you struggling with work just like me after the company went under? Your misunderstanding about the company going under and Dad's company not doing well is precisely that, a misunderstanding. What do you mean? The company in Japan is gone, isn't it? The company didn't go under because of poor management. But rather it was decided that moving the company to another country would be better considering Japan's economic situation and future prospects. That means it was simply a matter of giving up on business in Japan. Since the company is closing down, the amount of work will gradually decrease, right? Since we have an incentive system, it's natural that salaries will decrease as work diminishes. Other employees received various compensations. But I had already secured my next big job, and even just my base salary was enough for me. Besides, it was originally my father's company. So I didn't really mind and didn't receive much compensation. That's why my salary gradually decreased. Why didn't you tell me that? To explain that reason, I need to talk about my current job first. Earlier, I mentioned that I had secured my next big job, right? It's to become the CEO of my father's company. CEO? Like, the president. My ex-husband seemed too shocked by my words, and with a bang on the desk, he stood up. He moved out of the camera's view, and his annoyed face was cut off, leaving only his midsection visible on my computer screen. After a few seconds, my ex-husband sat down as if drained of strength, and his unwanted face returned to the screen. Thinking he would be frustrated, I deliberately decided to share something a bit provocative. Well, it's a bit different, but
Yeah.
something like a president. However, I'm currently a CEO candidate, doing the groundwork. I think I'll eventually become the CEO, and by then, my annual salary could be around $13 million. Annual salary? $13 million? Don't lie. Even an annual salary of $1 million would be insanely wealthy. Yes, in Japan, there are only a handful of people earning an annual salary of $13 million. But it's not the same overseas. What's going on? Wasn't Japan supposed to be a leading country in the world? Hearing about my annual salary of $13 million, my ex-husband seemed to lose even more strength and could no longer lift his head. Now, only the top of his head was visible on my computer screen. Indeed, earning an annual income of $1 million in Japan would be considered wealthy. However, in Japan, households with assets of over $5 million are considered ultra-wealthy. And they account for only about 0.17% of all households. And that's just for those with $5 million in assets. Therefore, my annual salary of $13 million is an incredible figure in Japan. But when you look at it on a global scale, it's not as astonishing. Comparing the salaries of major company presidents in Japan and the USA shows a 16-fold difference, with the median annual salary of top American company presidents being over $23 million. With people earning an annual salary of $23 million, my $13 million doesn't seem all that impressive. $13 million in annual salary. Why did you keep such an important thing a secret? Becoming the CEO candidate for my father's company means I'd have to move here, right? It's not easy to just discuss moving you and Naomi to America without considering the timing, right? But you misunderstood, thinking the company was going under and I was becoming unemployed. And treated me horribly. How could I talk to you about this? In the end, you even accused me of relying on my money, so how could I tell you anything? So, I let go of an annual salary of $13 million. Struggling, my husband managed to lift his head, but he overdid it, looking up at the ceiling. Now, his neck and chin were displayed on my screen. Beyond feeling frustrated, I decided to deliver the final blow of sarcasm to my completely disheartened ex-husband. Never mind about me, are you okay? Huh? I've heard from Naomi. You've been struggling with your job search, haven't you? A 5-year gap is fatal in the rapidly advancing IT industry. I heard you begged Naomi for help because the job is demanding and the pay is low. Wailing that you had no choice but to work for a black company. Knowing full well what it was like. Exactly. I come home on the last train almost every day. And my salary is barely above that of a new recruit. It's hard to save for my old age like this, not to mention maintaining my mental and physical health. Hey, you earn like $13 million a year, right? Help me out like Naomi, will you? Why should I have to help you? Besides, I'm not making $13 million a year yet. But you're a CEO candidate, so you're getting a higher salary, right? That's how you can afford Naomi's tuition and rent, isn't it? Well, yes, but I have no intention of helping you. Keep slurping your cup noodles. Why would you say that? Naomi told me she saw your trash can filled with cup noodle containers when she went to pick up some stuff from your house. You're too exhausted from working at a black company to even cook. How sad. You might have had someone to cook for you if you had a family. Hey, don't leave me alone. At least convince Naomi not to abandon me. I have to get back to work now, so I'm going to hang up. Wait. It's already night. Don't hang up on me with that lie. I hung up the call without saying a word. It might be around 11 p.m. in Japan, but it's just past 1 p.m. where I am. My ex-husband must be really desperate not to consider the time difference. Satisfied to see my ex-husband frustrated and anxious, I stretched and got back to work. It seems he continued to work at the toxic company even after our call. However, his body, at 46, and the 5-year gap soon reached their limits. My ex-husband quit his job and started looking for another. But with his age, the gap, and having quit his previous job in less than a year, his job search became even tougher. Eventually realizing he couldn't find a job in the IT industry under his conditions, my ex-husband, having some experience in part-time jobs, ended up working at a supermarket. This job was tough, too. Learning new things at 46 was hard. And he was scorned by part-time students as a useless old man. Moreover, the supermarket job starts early and is physically demanding. My ex-husband is already mentally and physically drained. Quitting this job would only make his next job search harder, so he continues to live on, slurping cup noodles at home, drained every day. Having a family might have provided some support, but we're divorced. And my daughter has moved out thanks to the money I provided. Naturally, she intends to cut ties with my ex-husband. So unless he finds a new wife, he'll be alone forever. Given his current situation, I doubt there's a next time for him. So he'll have to manage on his own from now on. My daughter and I occasionally video call each other. She wants to get involved in developing software or apps like me after graduating, and is working hard on her studies. As for me, I'm working hard at my father's company to become CEO. There are differences in the system compared to Japanese companies. And I'm facing various challenges. Though it's tough, I make it a point to visit Japan about once a year to keep my motivation for work. While seeing my daughter is my main reason for visiting Japan, I also love cartoons. So I want to shop for merchandise. When I go to Japan, I plan to stay in my daughter's room. Next month will be my first overnight stay at my daughter's place. Thinking about my trip to Japan next month, I'm motivated to work hard today.